Welcome to the Strategy Skills podcast. I am your host, Chris Safarova, and our podcast sponsor today is strategytraining.com. If you want to strengthen your strategy skills, you can get the overall approach used in well-managed strategy studies. It is a free download, and you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/overall approach. And you can also get McKinsey and BCG winning resume. It is a resume that got offers from both firms, and you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/resume PDF. And today, our guest is Payam Zamani from One Planet Group, the co-founder of the Wall Street record-breaking IPO, AutoWeb. Welcome, Payam.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to be here with you.
I want to start with 1994, when you co-founded AutoWeb with your brother. Tell us about those early days.
When you go back to 1994, you realize that a lot of people did not even know what the internet was all about. I was one of them. I did not learn about the internet and the power of the internet until after my brother shared with me the idea that what if we built a business online? So it was really, really early on. I think for a lot of people who are probably watching this, it's hard to even fathom the time that people did not know what the internet was. But I think fewer than 5,000 websites were registered back then. So we're really talking about early days, and the traffic on the web was very low. The access to the internet was very slow. We used what was called dial-up, which you would actually connect your computer to the phone line, and you would dial up, and it was very slow. But yeah, so I mean, those were the early days, and clearly a lot has changed. And people who got into those early businesses, they did that fundamentally, completely out of passion, not because they thought that those would become big businesses. There was no reason to believe they would become big businesses. They did it for the love of it.
So let's talk more. Let's dig. I really want to get us to those early days, what it was like. How did you figure out what value you can offer? How did you figure out what product services to offer? Tell us a little more.
I mean, I fundamentally think that in order for you to execute something, you got to simplify. So I tell my team, simplify the complex so it can become executable. And I think that often we tend to make things too complicated. We almost think that it's like a badge of honor that I've got this complex idea. I got 20 pages of business plan. To me, it's got to be something by far simpler than that. So initially, frankly, the idea that we had, some entrepreneurs that they want to go out there and change the world, they would probably laugh at it. But the idea was that, look, it's the internet and nobody's online. No car dealers are online. The automotive industry is not online. Let's just build a website that we can, in a sense, provide them with their own storefronts online. So in those early days, I would go around and I would personally try to sell to car dealers a presence on autoweb.com with the idea of joining what I call the nation's electronic auto mall, that you will have a presence. So if somebody wants to buy a Honda in San Jose, California, they see your dealership online present, and they're more likely to interact with you after they've researched and they've decided what they want to buy. And then over time, you perfect your model as you start selling. You understand what sells, what doesn't. So you start improving that. As you bring consumers to the website, you get a sense for what consumers are willing to interact with, what they don't. So you start improving that. And you can, in a sense, perfect that model and keep improving it over the many, many years to come. But to get going on day one, I would say make it as simple as possible so you can just get out the door and start bringing in some revenue and experiencing the true needs of those who are going to pay your bills and those who have to be attracted to your service.
Payam, when you reached out to those dealerships, how much did it cost for them to be on your site?
I mean, of course, a lot of the early deals were, negotiated, custom designed deals. There was, because we were still trying to figure out our business model and our pricing. The first dealer that ever signed up with us was this large dealership group in Oakland, California called Cochran and Selly. And they signed up for $28,000 for 1 year. And that was our first customer.
I'm sure that was a very happy day because it's hard.
Absolutely. It was a very happy day. I bought a BMW.
So it was tough in the beginning, I can imagine, because you guys didn't have family support, rich family that could fund your business. You had to really be smart in how you covered all your costs, and you couldn't afford many mistakes. So your brother was responsible for all the tech stuff. He was building the site, and that was tough as well at the time because now we have all these platforms and so on, much easier to build things. But then he had to code everything himself, and then you did all the sales. How did you stay motivated during those brutal early days?
I mean, if you, as you know, I have written a book recently called "Crossing the Desert: The Power of Embracing Life's Difficult Journeys." And once you go through some difficult journeys of, I don't know, growing up a Baha'i in Iran, which is no walk in the park, escaping a country, smugglers getting you from one country to another, uh, then becoming stateless, then becoming a refugee in the US, paying your way through college or high school because your parents are not with you, and so on. And then business challenges become kind of pale in comparison. And I think that we all kind of meet challenges in life and to embrace them, because then when real challenges hit us, we are kind of tested, and we are ready to embrace them and deal with them and get through to the other side. So I think that the business challenges, as real as difficult they pale in comparison to some other real life and maybe the kinds of challenges that I didn't even know I'm going to get through them alive. Now, business challenges, you can get through them alive. At least that you've got that assurance. Um, but as difficult as those days were, they're also incredibly exciting because I look at business problems as almost like a puzzle, that there are answers. You just got to take the time, consult with the right people, and figure out how those pieces fit together so you're able to fix that problem. You're able to put the puzzle together. So, and when you're able to do that, it's really exciting. It's really, something that gives you energy and ready for the next challenge. So, I mean, I almost miss those days. They're incredibly fun and interesting, exciting days.
I know what you mean. I often hear from people who are incredibly successful, unbelievably successful, top of the world in their respective fields, and they miss those early days when things
Sure.
was not clear if things will work out, but the work was interesting and they just missed those days. I totally can relate to that. So I would love for you to talk a little more about your sales approach because it took some serious
Hmm.
talent to build out AutoWeb to what it became. And you
Hmm.
drove the entire sales of the
Hmm.
business. How did you figure out for yourself, okay, so you started the business. How did you figure out how many dealerships I'm going to need to go to? How would I approach them? Could you talk about that?
So I really believed in the power of motivation and getting your psyche ready for selling. So I would read a lot of books. I would read a lot of books by Wayne Dyer, by Zig Ziglar, by Anthony Robbins, and trying to not just motivate myself but give myself the tools that I needed to be able to sell and sell effectively. But ultimately, I knew that selling was about understanding your numbers, meaning that whether you're a good salesperson or a bad salesperson, a percentage of your sales will translate into a closed deal. You just need to know what that number is. I realized after a while that when I was presenting to about 10 dealership groups, one of them will sign up. So I could do the math backward. I would understand that, look, if a dealer is going to pay me, let's say, $10,000 a year, if I want to add, $100,000 to my revenue for the year, then I need to sell 10. If I need to sell 10, I need to do 100 presentations. Okay, so let's go out there and do 100 presentations. Now I have figured that I can just get on the road and go to dealerships and literally cold walk in and ask the dealer, the general manager, to meet with me, which often they would not. But I had realized that if I go to couple of different dealership rows, and every city has them. In one full day, I'm able to sign up one account. And that was my goal. So I'm going to get out there. I'm going to just dedicate enough number of days so I can sign up one account a day. That was my goal. And once I, in a sense, perfected my own model, then I brought more salespeople on board that I could just show them. I wasn't just telling them. I would just show them that, look, I've sold 100 accounts already myself. All you have to do is basically follow my system, sell, and of course, collectively we become better over time, which we did. But it's to me, it's just get out there and start doing things. So again, when people try to figure things out by really, in a sense, do that on a spreadsheet, I'm like, as important as that may be, get out there, do the work. You learn from real experience. Don't overplan. Just get out there and experience it.
Payam, and those 100 accounts, how long approximately it took you?
Oh, a long time. My first account, I presented to 150 dealerships before the first one signed. But then there's always this experience that once the first account signs for any business, then the floodgates open. Then, because you just proved to yourself, and you can point to someone that have just signed up, that allows you to go out there and get a lot more accounts and bring them on board. So the first account took almost 6 months, 150 dealership presentations. But then you fast forward to 4.5 years later, we have 5,000 member dealerships.
Incredible. You did 100 presentations, received 100 no's.
150.
150.
And I received 150 no's.
How did you adjust your presentation? What did it look like at the end that you found this actually works?
The truth is, the first account I signed up, I did not sign up. I was trying very hard and I was just hitting roadblock after roadblock. A good friend of mine called me up. She said, "Hey, I hear you're building this business. How's it going?" I said, "I'm having a hard time with sales." She said, "Well, I live in Berkeley. There's an auto row in Oakland. Do you mind if I just go out there and I see if I can sell?" And so for half an hour, I gave her a pitch on how to sell it. She went to Oakland, went to the car dealerships on the auto row on Broadway Avenue in Oakland. A couple hours later, called me up, said, "I've got somebody who's interested to sign up," which became our first paying account. The point is that, sometimes your friends can become your best, tools. Reach out to them, talk to them. And once she sold one, frankly, it improved my confidence that people are really willing to buy this. And I became a lot better at it. And she was also very helpful in helping me hone my skills. So the first account, it took 150 presentations. But then after that, we started seeing a growth to the point that, there was a time that you were signing up a few hundred per month.
And how many people did you have working in sales? Do you remember?
Yeah, once we ramped up our sales force, we had 32 salespeople. The thing about the automotive industry is that even though it's a $1 trillion industry, there are 20,000 dealerships in the US. So you cannot have 1,000 people selling. There's a finite number of people you can sell to. So we needed to have, the right number for us was 32. We had divided up the country into 4 sections, 8 salesperson for each section, and that worked well for us.
Do you remember what the final presentation looked like?
Yeah, I mean, the business model shifted quite a bit, as you would expect with any new business, but also in a new business on a new platform, a new industry. So, we were inventing performance-based marketing. We were inventing lead generation. We were inventing locally targeted marketing on the web. Those are all brand new things that no one had ever done before. So while I started by selling people to join the nation's electronic auto mall, towards the end of that endeavor, we're selling car dealers to join us, and they would pay us for every customer that we'd send them, that they could pick up the phone, call them, and talk to them or email them. So it had become truly a performance-based marketing relationship that we were getting closer and closer to a transaction itself. So our customers, our buyers, did not have to risk a whole lot.
Yes, I was just thinking about it, that if you get percentage of the sale, then they don't need to risk anything.
There are complications with that because there are laws against becoming a broker and so on in the US that they in a sense protect franchisees. So some companies have tried to go around that, and some of that can work, but there are definitely some challenges.
If you were building this business from scratch, and we will get to it at the end as well, that you got it back after
yes.
public. But if you were building it now, would you still actually physically go to different cities, different states, or would you just do Zoom calls?
So I think that the idea of remote presentations is something that can work. But I think that you need to have a combination. I don't think that it would be exclusively remote or exclusively in person. But I think that the idea of having a sales force that is under one roof, in one location, one office, but from there they sell to the entire country, and every now and then they go visit those customers in person, is something that works.
So let's talk about funding the business. Initially, I assume you were just making money, putting it back into the business, but at some point you decided to open it up for investments. Tell us more.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, but when you think about it, two brothers who were not born in the US, they spoke English with a thick accent. And we were not graduates of Stanford or Harvard. We were not white. They are not the ideal people for Silicon Valley VCs to invest in, at least not those days. Times have changed, but those days, they had their own kind of like clear kinds of people that would fit their mold, and we did not fit the mold. So for our first investment, we raised money at a very low valuation, $850,000 of valuation. Our second investment, which was more of a serious investment of $5 million, we had to go all the way to Fort Lee, New Jersey. Unheard of for a company from Silicon Valley to go to Fort Lee, New Jersey to raise money. But that's what we had to do. It wasn't until our third investment round that finally a Silicon Valley VC was willing to give us money, but at a significant discount to the valuations that they were willing to give to those that would fit the mold. So it was not an easy path for my brother and I to raise money, even when money was kind of readily available for businesses like ours.
And was it a situation where you and your brother kind of thought seriously about, should we do it? Maybe we should just keep all the equity to ourselves and keep the control of the business, grow much slower, but keep the control and build what we want to build? Or should we open it up?
I mean, if I could do it all over again, maybe I would not raise VC money, but I didn't know. And VCs ultimately turned out to be, despite all the challenges we had with them, we learned a lot. So I wouldn't want it any differently. But if I had the experience I have today, I would build it without having VCs. But we had never built a business. We had no experience, and we wanted. The first day that I met with a lawyer to incorporate the business, he asked me, there are different kinds of corporations. Which one do you want to set up? It can be a C corporation, S corporation, LLC. I was 23 years old, and I said that, well, the kind that can go public. He said, with a smirk on his face, he said, well, that's a C corporation. And he said, thinking as though you'll ever build a company taking it public. And so I'm like, okay, well, if C corporation can go public, I'm building a C corporation. Let's sign us up for C. But signing up VCs was definitely part of our plan because we just thought it made sense.
And was it clear where money had to go towards? So did you actually had clear vision on, okay, we need to hire a lot of salespeople, we need that amount of money, that's why we need more investments coming in?
Yeah, I mean, for that kind of a business at that stage, it was very clear. You basically have to improve your product and you have to sell your product. So it's pretty clear where you need to spend your money. So that was not the issue. And I think that later on, many companies similar to us back in the 90s, the biggest mistake they made was that they started raising a lot of money, both privately and publicly, for the idea of brand building. And billions of dollars were wasted on, what was, I think, a phantom of an opportunity for the sake of brand building for businesses that neither needed to build a brand nor were they ready to build a brand. And a lot of money was wasted.
Do you remember what the company looked like just before you decided to take it public?
I mean, we filed for an IPO in January of 1999. The year prior, we had done north of $13 million in revenue. The company had just become profitable. We had about 110 employees. So we were a very efficiently operating business. For back then, the revenue was significant. There were many companies going public with very, very small amount of revenue, like less than $1 million. We had real revenue, and we had, second to eBay, we were the only other profitable company on the internet. And we'd done that with, frankly, few employees without losing a whole lot of money along the way. I think we had raised only $11 million from inception to IPO. Most companies had raised many multiples of that. So it was one of the most efficient internet companies ever, going from inception to an IPO of that magnitude, of an IPO of over $1 billion.
What do you think were the reasons for that?
I mean, part of it is because my upbringing, part of it is maybe my immigrant story, that to me, the idea that a business continues to operate after 5 years and continues to lose money did not even make sense. Why? What does that even mean? For how long a business should lose money? So I thought that there were a lot of people that they were just building a business based on a future value that was uncertain. I wanted to build a business that was winning today and in the future. So going after profits early on made a ton of sense, and also making sure that we are not diluting ourselves too much by keep raising money, at low valuations was another reason. Because again, remember that we were not getting high valuations because of the fact that my brother and I did not fit the mold. So dilution was heavy for us, and we wanted to make sure that we raise as little as possible. And profitability was a way of getting there without raising more money from VCs.
Makes a lot of sense. So let's go to 1999. You are 28. Right before the turn of the century, you had a record-breaking IPO. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we were ultimately ready to take the company public, and against my will and my brother's will, the VCs were very interested to bring on board an older CEO, somebody who fit the mold, and they did. I had my vote, they had theirs, and so the new CEO came on board. Nice guy, but the guy did not really have a vision for the automotive industry nor for building AutoWeb into what could have become a significant player in the space. But regardless, we had the company ready. We filed for the IPO. The company went public, and it was at the right time, the right place, a good company. And we thought that the company is going to get a $300 million valuation, raised $50 million. But the night before the IPO, we had enough buyers for 95 million shares versus 5 million that we wanted to sell. And the company ended up, rather than pricing at about $10 a share, pricing at 14, and the first day closing at 40 or 45. So it turned out to be fundamentally a different kind of an IPO that we thought it would be. So the company ended up being worth $1.2 billion at IPO. Now, I say that, but I also say that that was not a good thing. That, in fact, was a bad thing, because if you get valued too high prematurely before the company actually should be worth that much, then as the management team is in a tough spot. How do you keep the investors happy? Because the valuation cannot really be managed nor protected or sustained. So it puts you in a very difficult position. And the last thing you want is a stock price that cannot be maintained. But later on, we found out that why the valuation was as high as it was. Part of it has to do because we had a good company, but part of it was also because the bankers were doing unethical things back then, including selling a share for $14, but getting a promise from somebody that was getting that share for 14 that they will also buy in open market for, let's say, 28, 30 to make sure that stock will keep going up. Why? Because the bankers would make money off of that. That was damaging to the companies that they were taking public. But as you know, Wall Street runs based on greed more often than not. So they don't necessarily care about what happens to the companies they take public. They care more about how much money they make per deal. And they call them deals. These are companies, people's lives involved, but they call them deals. And frankly, to me, that's infuriating when they call my company a deal.
I completely understand because it's something you created, you put in so much into it. What was it like to watch the company you helped start, a company that had such a massive opportunity and potential, but you no longer were at the helm?
Well, to be honest with you, I was ready for it. I was 27 when we hired the CEO, and I was interested to learn. But I just was not for the CEO that the board wanted to hire. In fact, there was a CEO they wanted to hire before this guy. I was so excited about it. I thought that he would be a great CEO. And unfortunately, that deal did not work out, and somebody else ended up joining us, which I thought you should have just been more patient to find the right person to write the right CEO. So I was okay with the idea. I was more than okay with the idea. But then seeing somebody who was not ready to be the CEO damage the business and create a toxic environment, that was truly sad. I basically got to a point that both my brother and I, we had to choose to leave, and we did. So we were both gone within 7, 8 months of the IPO.
So what happens next? What do you do
I mean,
with
I've done quite a bit since then. I have started other startups. I have, if we fast forward to what I do now, I run a company called One Planet Group. It's my company. I don't have any outside investors, and through this company, we own a few technology businesses that we fully own and operate, and we also invest in other startups. And we've invested in about 50 different companies, and I love working with entrepreneurs. So that gives me an opportunity to, in a sense, give back. And the companies that we operate, they have been very successful, profitable businesses in doing similar things, frankly, to AutoWeb, in solving the performance-based marketing problem for many of the major verticals, such as automotive, home services, real estate, and so on. And I think you insinuated to that also about a year and a half ago, it was the right time, and I had the opportunity to buy back AutoWeb that I had nothing to do with anymore. I did not even own a single share in the company, and the company had remained a publicly traded business. But I had the opportunity to buy back a company about a year and a half ago and take it private, which we did that, and now that is also a part of One Planet Group.
it is incredible that you were able to get it back.
I think a lot of founders dream for that, to get their company back, and I was one of the fortunate ones to be able to to experience that.
Yes. And I'm sure luck was involved, but also a lot of hard work and good thinking and right decisions and taking action at the right time. All those things came together.
Sure.
So what is the plan now that you're involved again with AutoWeb?
I mean, AutoWeb is part of a bigger picture now. It's part of, basically my strategy in building a large platform for performance-based marketing, but particularly in the locally targeted space. I think that there is an opportunity for us in the market to build a brand that, when you think about, I own a car dealership, I'm a contractor, I'm a real estate agent, and I want to get access to consumer demand online. Where is that one single place you go to? It's almost like, if I need power, I call the power company. If I need Wi-Fi, I call the, telecom company that works in my area. If I need consumer demand, who do I reach out to give me access to that? We like to be that brand. We think we have an opportunity. It's a market worth tens of billions of dollars, and there is no large, significant, established brand that offers a service. So we think we can be that. But frankly, more important than that, given my experience working with Wall Street, given my experience being very close to the way the companies are built and grown and sold in the US, I'd like to see if we, through our business and me personally, can influence that. I think that, over the years, I've seen so many Silicon Valley entrepreneurs and just entrepreneurs in general, that some build great companies. I say some because keep in mind, majority of companies don't ever make it. So some make it. They raise money, they go public, they sell. But most entrepreneurs, they have that experience, but they don't have true joy. They don't feel that they are full, that they feel like they need to keep going. They need to build another company, higher value, bigger margins, bigger profits, go public. They feel like that cycle has to continue in order for them to feel joy. So the concept of serial entrepreneurship comes about and so on. And some of that is probably okay, but not if we are doing that because we fundamentally don't feel the joy that we should from the journey that we are part of. I tend to believe that if we turn our businesses into something that is not just benefiting us, but also their businesses that fundamentally part of their DNA is service to humanity, we will do a lot better. We'll do a lot better for ourselves, our communities, our soul. We feel a lot more fulfilled. And I think that's missing. A few years ago, I was at a conference and the leader of a nonprofit spoke. And I turned to my wife and I said, I'm jealous. She said, why? I said, well, she's the leader of a nonprofit. Every day she goes to work feeling that she's offering service. I don't feel that way. I feel like at night, maybe on the weekends, I can live my life of service. But during the day, it's business. But why is that? Why businesses should stand for greed and nonprofits for betterment of the world? Why can't we do both? Why can't businesses stand for betterment of the world? Why should an Amazon feel that global domination is not enough? We have to keep going and do more and more and more. Being worth 200 billion is not enough. I got to be worth 400 billion. Why? I don't get that. I think that actually leaves us empty. That does not fulfill us.
I 100% agree with you. I actually wake up every day and I feel I'm basically fulfilling my mission why I came here and doing things for the world. And I think anyone can have a business like that. You just need to be intentional and think about
That's right.
how can you deliver value? How can you lift people up with your work? What is your business uniquely positioned to do that can lift people up in a unique way that only you can?
I mean, I think that every company should stand for something that is beyond a financial gain. By the way, know that I absolutely stand for building successful, profitable businesses. But if I'm running a successful, profitable business, I have a choice to make. Where do I invest? Do I care about empowering women? Do I care about empowering people of color? Do I care about building a better company? Do I care about contributing to the betterment of the world? Or am I going to just hide behind this concept of capitalism that business is just business? No, business is not just business. Business touches lives. So I need to build a business that once it's all said and done, the world was ever so slightly better because that business existed. So I think that what is a just cause? In our company, we say that we have a business. Is it going to offer cure for cancer? No. But with our resources, there's certain things we can do. So we stand for two things. One is we want to empower women all over the world, whatever we can do, because equality has not been there. And whatever we can do for women and girls all over the globe, we would like to invest in. And by the way, just because we know how to run a performance-based marketing company doesn't mean we know how to do that, which drives me nuts when I see that a software executive says, I can also figure out the education problem in Africa. No, you can't. Just because you know how to code doesn't mean that you have the answers to everything. Humility is important. So let's take a step back. Let's see who's doing a good job. Let's empower them. So women and girls, that's number one. Number two, to me, racism is the biggest challenge the US faces. It's so divisive and it's hurt so many people. So we like to stand for racial healing. And we like to see that some of our profits go towards that. And we believe that it's wrong to have just 1% of your profits go to your own foundation. Say, okay, well, check mark, I've done my job. No, there needs to be more of a sacrificial giving. And you need to truly empower others to do the good job that they are doing. So adopt nonprofits that they are dying for cash and they are doing a good job. Go find them, seek them, make them part of your organization so they become part of your fabric. The other things that we do, we offer service days to our employees, give them paid days that we ask them to, you don't need to work on those days. Go offer service to your community, however you see fit. Um, it is, like I said, worrying about how we invest our money, knowing that the way we invest has a ripple effect, and we should worry about the consequence of our investments. But there are many, many different factors that can play a role in how we build our businesses. The interesting thing is when we do these things, when we set up our company to become a vehicle for contributing to the betterment of the world, we will be happier as the management, as the executives, as the owners, but also our employees will be too. Our customers will be too. You think about it. What company would not want to work with a business that has those kinds of ethos? What employee doesn't want to be a part of that company that has those kinds of ethos? So you end up with a better company. In fact, maybe even a more profitable business. You didn't do it because of that, but that just becomes a part of your business.
100% agree with you. I think it is so incredibly important, and we need to talk about it. Even if I think back during my MBA days, there was no focus on that, on how do you actually not just be successful, but also make a huge contribution, as big contribution as you can with your unique talents and skills, and the fact that you are in a privileged position to be able to contribute far above average. So we need to talk about it. 100% agree with you. I actually speak about this all the time with our clients and customers and so on, our members. I think that many people, they would contribute at a higher level if they heard it enough, if it became part of a conversation more than what it is now.
Well, the fact is, we know that money is necessary in our material existence. We need that to be able to live a decent life. But beyond a certain level, it's not going to make us happy. We know that. Every research shows that beyond a certain level, money by itself is not going to make you happy. What it does is service to others. What it does is contributing to something bigger than ourselves. And I think that businesses that take the time to do that, to make that part of their core, part of who they are, they become better businesses for humanity and for the people involved. When they don't do that, when the sole focus is money, then bad things happen. Then environmental concerns are something for tomorrow. Who cares? Then equity, when it comes to women and men, when racial equity, all of that. Well, no, my job is maximize the profits. I hire the best person. I don't care about those things anymore. But at the end of the day, we're hurting ourselves and humanity by not considering the factors that make us human.
And what is interesting is it doesn't mean that you cannot make money. You can have an incredible life. You can run a business where you generate far above what this average business generates. And you can be the kind of business that adds a lot of value to the world. Even just if you approach your products and services with love towards people and wanting them to succeed or have incredible experience when they're using your products, it's already a contribution far above average.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. The issue is that the way the corporations are run today is with the idea of maximizing shareholder value. So one of the CEOs of one of the top 100, top 10 companies in the world, I'm not going to name him, he spoke in front of a committee of Congress, and they were questioning him why he did something unethical that he did. He said, unethical is not illegal. Make it illegal so I don't do it. How do you change that? I think that the only way you change that is through spiritual transformation, that I want to just on my own do what's good for humanity, because no laws will ever make me not racist. No law will ever cause me to want to pay women and men enough, and the same, because I will always find a loophole. So what is going to cause me to really want to do good in the world? And the other factor to keep in mind is capitalism as we know it is dependent on stock price to bring about billionaires. Billionaires don't come about as a result of building businesses that generate billions in cash. They come about as a result of billionaires own shares that become worth billions, the shares. And that becomes a problem because if I'm the CEO of a company that can cause the stock price to go up by laying off employees and temporarily improve the profits of the business, so my next quarterly report looks better, guess what? I will do that because that will make my numbers look good. The stock price goes up. I became a billionaire, and that makes me happy. And there is, I just did what is not good for humanity, but it was good for me. And in the name of maximization of shareholder value, we make a lot of decisions that may not be even good for a long-term position of our own company, but that's the world we live in. And I like to see that change. I think that and I think that collectively we'll become happier. Collectively, we'll build better companies that may not become as massive as they are. But should we have companies that have market caps of $1 trillion? Is that good for humanity? I would argue that it's not. It offers fewer choices. It causes many businesses go bankrupt. It causes a lot of people get forced out of business.
I would like to spend the last few minutes we have together talking about what habits or practices have you personally cultivated that you believe have contributed to your professional success and also the impact you are able to make in the world.
Sure. I mean, I'm a work in progress. So I have learned a lot from my challenges in life, and I fundamentally believe that we should embrace those challenges because life is made up of a never-ending cycle of crises and victories. There are crises that we face in personal lives, in business lives, and we just got to know that they are designed to get us ready for bigger achievements. And then we reach those moments of victory, and we should not get too comfortable either because crises will follow, inevitably will follow. Every uphill is followed by downhill, every downhill by an uphill. That's just how it is. It's a circle of life, and we should be comfortable with it. So, I mean, what is my, how do I go about my day and dealing with my challenges, my victories, and just my vision for the future for this business and for humanity is through meditation, through a commitment to my spiritual existence, because I think that that's important. And without that, I feel like life would be very empty. So to me, that is fundamentally an important part of who I am and a part of my makeup. But then I think that over the years, I've learned that leading with love. So that is the number one core value in our organization. And I tell our employees, you got to have love for humanity, which guess what? Includes your competitors. You got to have love for them. If our business requires their demise, I don't want to be in that business. I want to be in a different business. If consumers choose to buy our product, okay, so be it. But at the end of the day, I don't want to go into a business that says that I want so and so to not do well. That is not my business. I don't want to be there. The next thing is intention. What's my intention? Check yourself every day. I want to do whatever. I want to invest in this. I want to build a business. I want to start a new segment in my company. Why? And that intention needs to be pure. That intention should basically not leave a catastrophic trail behind, should not be bad for humanity, should not, in a sense, contribute to anything that's negative, should be a source of good. Does it bring any sort of light to the world at all? And I think there are many factors like that I think about, because to me, at the end of the day, I will feel very empty unless I think about, ultimately I'm going to die. So what we leave behind are, that kind of a legacy that we are able to leave that maybe cause our existence to offer something of value to the planet.
You recently wrote a book. What are some of the things you want to share about the book for people? Something that you want them to take away?
So, I've been thinking about writing this book for many years, and I finally wrote it because I was looking at the situation in the world. I was looking at the situation, just broader world, humanity, including the situation in the US, the fear of immigrants, the problems that we see with Wall Street, with greed. And I felt like it's time to write a book. I wanted this to be a book that gives hope to that teenager who's lost hope and lives in halfway around the world. I wanted to write it for that stateless person who doesn't know where they're going to find home. I wanted to write it for that new entrepreneur, first time entrepreneur, that they need to have a book that kind of, shows them that, what, the struggles are okay. They're part of building a business. And I wanted to build them for current CEOs and management of companies that they want to get more out of their business than just financial success. So I thought it was time. And, with all humility, I offer my book. I don't think I have figured anything out. I'm just sharing what I've learned through my own struggles. And if it becomes something of value to others, great. But I hope that people who will read it will find it helpful.
Do you have anything else you would like to add or share? Maybe something you wanted me to ask and I didn't. And also, where can our listeners learn more about you?
Yeah. So you can follow me in social media on Instagram as Payam Zamani, no space. And LinkedIn. I'm on all social media. And of course, my book will be available on June 18th. You can pre-order now. It's available anywhere that books are sold. Crossing the Desert is the name of the book. And yeah, I mean, if you read that book, you'll see everything I have to share. And I would love to hear from you once you do. It will bring joy to me to get feedback from people, good, bad, whatever they thought after they read the book. And the book at the end of every chapter has offers a reflection that really works well if you do that with a group of people, maybe with coworkers and others. So I would love to see how that goes with people.
Thank you, Payam. I really appreciate all the work you're doing. I really appreciate your care about humanity. You care about the world. We really need more leaders like that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone, again for joining us for this episode of the Strategy Skills podcast. Our guest today again has been Payam Zamani. Check out his book. It is called Crossing the Desert. And our podcast sponsor today is strategytraining.com. If you want to strengthen your strategy skills, you can get the overall approach used in well-managed strategy studies. It is a free download, and you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/overall approach. And you can also get McKinsey and BCG winning resume free download at firmsconsulting.com/resume PDF. Thank you everyone again for tuning in, and I look forward to connect with you all next time.